Hello BookTube, it's Ben here from the History Player channel. Coming to you today with a book tag. I've seen this done by a couple of other booktubers recently, so I thought I'd give it a go because there's a few interesting questions in it, so I thought I'd give it a go. It's called the Margaret Atwood Adventure Tag. So it's got 13 questions, so I'll get on with that. Number 1, what was your first job? My first proper job was, I think I was 16 years old doing a Saturday job, and I'd got a job in a shoe shop called Freeman Hardy Willis. I used to spend every Saturday spending all day selling shoes to various customers, kids right up to adults and elderly people. It was quite a fun job. I quite enjoyed it really, because after a while I got a full-time job in a position in another branch, and then eventually worked my way up to like assistant manager, where I was assistant manager in one of the stores until I was sadly made redundant. There was a recession, sort of the mid-90s, so I ended up losing my job there. But that was my first one, working in a shoe shop selling shoes. Number 2, what is a survival skill that you have that would help you survive living off grid? Well, as you know, I might have mentioned before that I've been in scouting for about 38 years. In that time I've done a fair number of camps, survival camps, hikes, adventure sports, that sort of thing. So I've picked up a few survival skills in my time. I could probably build myself a shelter, keep in it, and then be able to light a fire, do cooking, that sort of thing, collect water. I could probably survive for depending on where I was, I could probably survive at least a couple of weeks. But I know how to do all the survival cooking, where even when you get all your food and wrap it in some leaves and that and bury it and underground with some hot coals and that sort of thing. So I think I could manage, although in later years I would prefer a sleeping bag or somewhere nice and warm and soft to kip down in. Number 3, do you have a favourite comic book or a comic book character? I remember reading comics as a kid. Used to get the Beano every week. My favourite character was Billy Whiz, but you had other characters like Dennis the Menace, the Bash Street Kids, Little Minx, Lord Snooty, and a load more. But Billy Whiz was my favourite. He used to run around being really quick, and I think there was another character called Ball Boy, and he used to play football all the time, and I used to like him as well. So I didn't really read much of the Marvel comics or 2001 AD type comics, so that didn't kind of interest me. Number 4, what are some ways that you are creative? I used to have one job where I was self-employed as a web designer. I suppose that's creative in that you're having to design websites for people. I used to do that for a number of small companies and charities for a while. I do a bit of drawing, a bit of calligraphy writing, but I suppose my wife's the one you need to ask for creativity in our house, because she does painting and drawing and all kinds of different arts, and her business is being a pyrographer, where she writes and draws onto pieces of wood, and she's really excellent at that and has made a living out of that. So good on her, but she's the creative one in the house. Number 5, what is your favourite myth, folk tale or fairy tale, and why? I don't think I don't have a favourite, although I believe in odd things like witches and ghouls and mysteries and things that you can't, where there doesn't seem to be an answer to. I'm quite into those sort of things, but I don't really have a favourite. I suppose I've always been fascinated by Yetis and the Loch Ness Monster, and just really the things you don't really hear much about, really, strange stories and happenings, and I suppose aliens and ghosts. Number 7. If Atwood was to write a novel about you, what are some themes she would need to include? I'm quiet. I'm a bit of a loner. If I wasn't married, I'd probably be found living in the woods or halfway up a mountain, miles away from anyone. You see, in my little family, we work well together, and my wife's the outgoing and sociable one, and I'm I suppose, the boring, miserable one. So it works out well together. So I suppose me being a quiet person is one thing she'd need to write about. But I'm always happy to do community work and charity work and help other people out and that sort of thing. So I would like that to be mentioned in the story about me. Do you have number 8? Do you have a favourite word, and why is it your favourite? I love words, and I love learning about their meanings and where they come from and their origins. And I suppose one word that always fascinates me is pumpernickel, or words that you can pronounce with a P. I know that sounds strange, but if you watch the comedy series Blackadder, I love comedy, and the way Rowan Atkinson can pronounce his words, and especially any words beginning with a P, always sounds great to me. And it reminds me of one of the episodes in, I think, Blackadder 3rd, in which he plays a butler, and Dr. Johnson's coming round to see the prince because he wants him to patronise his book, and he reckons he's got all the books written in this dictionary, so that then means Blackadder tries to catch him out with these long words that he might not have remembered or thought about. Pericombobulations, interphrastically, I think another one, contrafibularities, and there's another one I think called mispeptic or something like that. But I love words, and I love long words and finding out all about it. But yeah. Number 9. What countries have you lived in? And or what is another country you would love to live in? I've lived 10 years in Scotland, 3 years in Cyprus, another 10 years in England, and then the past 10-15 years in Wales. So I've moved around the UK quite a bit. My dad was in the RAF, so he was always stationed something new every 3 years. And the best was probably when we were stationed out in Cyprus, which is, for those that don't know, is like a Mediterranean country. It's just a small country in the middle of the Med, and it's nice and warm. Very friendly country, but the sun's always shining and it's very sporty, and you can spend all your spare time down on the beach. So that was really great, and would love to go back there. Other than that, I quite fancy going to New Zealand, Canada, the Scandinavian countries, places like Sweden or Norway. And I quite fancy doing a road trip of America, going visiting all the states, but I'm not that keen on living there. So they're the countries I'd like to visit. Number 10, what is something you do to help take care of our planet? Well, I recycle like we're all supposed to, sticking all our rubbish out every week and sorting it out. I try and buy very little plastic stuff, especially single-use plastic. I've done when I've been scouting, I've always tried to organise events where we do lots of tree planting. We used to do lots of rubbish cleans on beaches and try and take away all the rubbish that's swept in on the tide, and try and get rid of all the rubbish, take that down the tip. So I am quite environmentally friendly. What is a topic that you're passionate about? I believe, as we live here in Wales and the UK, we're a first world country, so I believe we should have, or we shouldn't have, things like homelessness, poverty, people not being able to, or they have to make the choice between eating and heating, as in they need to have 3 square meals a day, and they should be able to live in a safe home that's properly heated. People should have access to proper jobs, and people should be employed on fair means and on fair wages. It just astounds me sometimes that, particularly with this current government, they don't care about working people or the poor. We need to have certain basic standards living in a first world country. And at the moment, the Conservative government that run the country are running a levelling up exercise, in that they want to improve life for the people in the north of England. But their idea of levelling up is like spending money on town centres and shopping malls and improving the infrastructure like roads and services and that, which does need improving all round. But I think they need to do levelling up for the people. If you support the people with good education and access to food and heating and housing, then you'll get better people and they'll have better jobs. So in my opinion, they need to level up the people of the north, and that's no disrespect to anyone living in the north, because I'm moving there in the summer. That's no disrespect to people that live in the north, because they haven't had the support previously. So the money needs to be spent on the people rather than the places, in my opinion. Because if you support the people, you will then improve the environment around them. Number after my little tiny rant there. Number 12. Who is a new author, or what debut novel do you wish more people knew about? Well, I'm going to say I would recommend Tim Heath, who writes about World War II, and Craig, I think his name's Dr. Craig Armstrong. Two great writers that write for Pen and Sword books, both on local history or World War II, and I think they're really great to read. And I would also recommend, for those that haven't read any of his books, the American author D. Brown, because some of his books were brilliant and he writes all about the American West, so I would always recommend D. Brown books. Anyway, the last question, number 13, is tag some of your favourite booktubers. So I might do that underneath. I'll put the questions down below in case anybody else wants to do the tag as well. Thank you very much for watching. If you've got any comments about what I've had to say or about any of the subjects I've brought up, then feel free to put them down below in the video. Give us a thumbs up on the video if you don't mind, as it all helps. And I'll be back with some more videos very soon. So thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you next time.